Okay, everyone, let's grab our seats. It's 8:30 p.m. Welcome to the Conscious Contact Group. My name is Ron. I'm an alcoholic. Welcome home, everyone. Real quick announcement. We got I got a messenger from Troy in Alaska about how he listens to our group online. And it's pretty powerful. And I'd just like to give a shout out to Jason, who does all the work. If you ever listen to them, put a comment in there, say thanks, Jason. He tirelessly posts, I don't think we're up to 800, 700 speakers on there now. And people's lives change. Over 400,000, listens, which is about what this group's about, carrying this message. We have an ongoing treatment center commitment. If any of you guys want to get involved every Sunday night, plenty of resources. See us after the meeting. What else? Oh, and for the people on Zoom, I can tell you, if you think that the recordings are powerful when you listen to them online, but there's nothing like being here in person in a live meeting. And if you're out to live meetings, here's a little bit of a Google stat. $1 in the basket in 1970, I think is equivalent to $8.16 in 2024. So I always try to throw in $3 or $4. Anyway, with that, we have the world's greatest chairwoman all the way in from Canada. Let's welcome Kara. Give her a warm welcome.
Good evening, y'all. My name's Karen. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. Welcome home. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street, Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m. and speaker at 8:30 p.m. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. right here. Please come early and join us. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teachings of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first name? Woohoo! 2 people. You don't hear that often. I'm from Shreveport. Welcome. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Joe. Welcome. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with working knowledge of the 12 steps and willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Are there any announcements for the good of AA? Our sister group is a big book study meeting that meets every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. just up the street at Salem, UCC Church, 186 East Court Street, Doylestown. Coffee is on at 6:15. We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purpose of big books and CDs to help those who cannot afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CD donations. All CDs are available free of charge. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and our Facebook group. Subscribe and share. You can find our speakers there. Join our Facebook page to keep informed and share upcoming events and meetings. Now I would like to bring Brian up. He's going to read Just for Today prayer. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Kara. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian, and I am an alcoholic. This is our Just for Today prayer of recovery. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly, talk low, act courteously, criticize not one bit, not find fault with anything, and not try to improve or regulate anybody except myself. And with that, Dave's going to come up here. Dave's going to read our AA preamble.
How you doing, guys? Welcome home. I'm Dave. I'm alcoholic. The preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organizations, or institutions. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Now Paul's going to come up and read the 12 steps.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Paul. I'm an alcoholic. Welcome home. These are the 12 steps of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And let's give a warm welcome for Kara to come back up.
The 7th tradition states, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, I would like to pass the basket. We have no dues or fees, but we do have expenses. This group provides many services. Your donations cover food, rent, big book CDs, events, and workshops, etc. There is absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. Now, I'd like to introduce the speaker as a good friend of the Conscious Contact speaker group. Let's give Andrea P. a warm welcome. She is from the Conscious Contact speaker group of Staten Island, so she's driven a long ways. Woo!
Hi guys, I'm Andrea and I'm an alcoholic. Very grateful, very honored to be here. Ron came and spoke for my Conscious Contact group's 28th anniversary last month, and I think he lined up a bunch of us, and we're very grateful. He did a wonderful job. I've never spoken for this long a period of time, but I also got to let you know it's not a problem, as most alcoholics do. I've got an ego. I've got diarrhea of the mouth, and for the most part, when I start talking, it doesn't mean I can shut up easily, so you might have to cut me off anyway. I'll give you my statistics. My sober date is July 13th of 2020. I have a home group. It's Conscious Contact. I have a sponsor who knows she's my sponsor. She has taken me through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous in the Big Book. And I sponsor other women. I'm grateful to be here. You know, I could get up here and say I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. And I don't. But what makes my life beyond my wildest dreams is that I am okay with my life. And that is something that I never dreamed possible. So, all right, I've been an alcoholic probably since birth, but I didn't start drinking until I was 40. My original drug of choice is food. I am from Brooklyn, New York. My parents got divorced when I was a year old, and I never had any siblings. They couldn't stand each other. I don't even know how I got into this world. And I did have an older sister that died of crib death at 2 days old. So my mother had a really rough go of it. I know today that my mother did the best she could. Thanks to a thorough and fearless fourth step, I know that both of my parents did the best that they could. But I grew up lonely. You know, my dad was in Queens. I lived with my crazy psycho-Italian mother and my Italian nonna, who had Alzheimer's. So I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house, and I came home from school. I would lock myself in a closet or in the spare bedroom. I would turn on soap operas and I would eat. And right from the get-go, from probably 5 years old, I would have alcoholic tendencies. I did everything with food that we did with alcohol. I would steal change. I would, scarf the food away. I would hide it. And then I would escape into, say, Luke and Laura on General Hospital, or Bo and Hope on Days of Our Lives, and I am the classic escape artist. And I would pretend that I was somebody else, and I lived my life that way. And my dad saw me once a week, and my dad has very clear-cut views of how women are supposed to look. And I didn't fit the package. I was always a big girl. And I liked food, and on Sundays we'd have, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm Italian. We'd have Sunday dinner, and, macaroni, Sunday sauce, meatballs, brajol, garlic bread, all that, all the stuff, the cannoli. And my dad was a stick figure. And he'd always tell my nanny, don't put so much ricotta on her macaroni, she's big enough as it is, or don't let her drink soda. If she's gonna drink soda, at least let it be diet. My reaction to my father was to eat more. My reaction to my father was to hide my food. My reaction to my father was to steal money and maybe put a box of Oreos in my underwear drawer. And I went on like that. And I went from being a big girl to being a fat girl. And I got fatter and fatter and fatter. And I hid more and I hid more and I hid more. And I never fit in. I never felt comfortable in my skin. I never felt comfortable in my body. And nobody would ever think I'm an alcoholic because I never really drank. I never had a date. My mom, God help her, my mom is not well. My dad, he's just judgmental. He's closed-minded. Like I said, by God's grace, I can accept the relationship that I have with them, and right now it's accepting that I don't have one. But thanks to incredible sponsorship, I reach out to both of them. So I got fatter and fatter and fatter. Like I said, I never had a date, never had a relationship. Was unworthy of being in a relationship, was unworthy of love because I was a fat girl. And, back then, girls weren't bigger. Now we can celebrate our bodies, whether we're big or small. It's not as big of a deal, but when I was growing up in the 80s, girls were supposed to be skinny. And if a guy liked a fat chick, there was something wrong with him. And any guy that liked me, there was definitely something wrong with you. But I guess by 27, I still didn't have a boyfriend. And, I met a chubby chaser. I was a chubby chaser's delight. And I married him, and all I really wanted was everything that I didn't have. I wanted the mom, the dad, the white picket fence. I didn't really need the dog, but I wanted lots of babies. Became teacher, everything conducive to having the perfect family. And as soon as I got married, I popped out a baby, and then I popped out another one, and then I popped out another one. And I got fatter and fatter and fatter, and my husband was happier. The fatter I got, the happier he was. And I took a very nice man who just happened to be very different from me, and I held him hostage. And I held our 4 beautiful children hostage for years because I couldn't accept that I settled for something that wasn't right. Doesn't mean there was something wrong with him, doesn't mean there was something wrong with me, but I just wanted to be loved. And that was the only thing him and I ever had in common. We wanted to be loved. So we created this family, and I hated myself every time I looked in the mirror. And you know, I'm grateful that I am an alcoholic today, that I can acknowledge that I'm an alcoholic today, that I can look in the mirror and say, I am Andrea, I am an alcoholic, I am a recovered alcoholic. Because if I couldn't get through that and accept that, I would just be the same girl that I always was, making very poor choices and blaming everybody else for every bad decision I ever made. I made bad money choices. I lived beyond my means. I had a short temper. Everything was about me. All these character defects that I grew up with my entire life, they were never my fault. And I was just misunderstood. And at 320 pounds, with 3 kids, I chose to have a gastric bypass. And my husband was adamantly opposed to it. He said it's going to ruin our marriage. You know what? He was right. Because all of a sudden, I started losing weight. I started getting attention that I didn't have. All of a sudden, I wasn't the fat soccer mom. All of a sudden, I was, the cute mom. And, but I lost something. I lost my ability to comfort myself because my only source of comfort was food. And without that ability to eat myself into oblivion every night, I picked up the mommy juice. It started with a glass of wine, 2 glasses of wine, then it became a bottle of wine, then it became 2 bottles of wine. And it became waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and needing more so that I could fall back asleep. And then it became getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning so I could stop myself shaking so I could get my kids to school. Then it became being so broke that I might as well collect unemployment and be a substitute teacher and get my kids to school and stay home in my pajamas all day and go to 7-Eleven and use my food stamp card and get a 4 Loko out of the refrigerator and pour it into a big gulp. Pretend that it was soda and pay for it with my food stamp card, where my little children were running around filling their cup with Slurpees. And that's how I got my alcohol. And then it became going to Costco and using that food stamp card to get vanilla extract and put it into my coffee because there was no money. And I'm asking my husband for $5 for shampoo, and I'm using it to get a half pint of Georgie just to keep me from shaking. And then one day on my 7-Eleven big gulp runs, I got pulled over on the West Shore Expressway wearing nothing but a wet bathing suit and flip-flops. And I had a blowout, and police had never seen anything like it. So it was actually kind of like a funny story. Wet bathing suit, flip-flops, get taken to the 120, freezing cold because I was wet, gave me a little hefty bag, big hefty bag, cut a hole in the top, put it over your head to keep me warm. And a lot of people would say, I would have loved to have seen that, the West Shore Expressway, you in a bathing suit and flip-flops, getting legs shackled. Well, my 4 children were in the car, watching mommy get handcuffed and taken away. And that's when ECS came into our lives. And thank God I have recovery, because you know what I can say now? That getting arrested in a bathing suit and flip-flops on the West Shore Expressway was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And I probably would not be alive today. And there's a very good chance that my children wouldn't be alive today either, because one thing I can tell you is that I got caught once. God only knows how many times I drove drunk. I would drive drunk with my children in the car, your children in the car. This disease has no prejudice. There I was with 3 teaching licenses, 2 degrees, and I really am the bum on the ferry drinking out of a brown paper bag. That's where this disease will take me. So I got released from jail. ACS shows up about 2 hours later. I am now no longer allowed to be alone with my children. My husband was the primary caretaker. I was the secondary caretaker. And I managed to, coast for about 2 years. And I thought, I'm smart. We're all smart. I'm a teacher. I got a degree. I can control this. I have depression. I have anxiety. If you had my life, you would drink too. My husband lost his job the day before we moved into our first house. I was 7 months pregnant with baby number 4. Got bad luck. You know what? No. I was full of self-will. We all know any life run on self-will can hardly be successful. I wanted the house. I wanted the kids. I wanted the husband. I wanted the perfect family. And when I get what I want, I'm not happy with what I want. So I can't eat. So what do? I drink. I lasted about 2 years. And by that point, baby number 4 was about 1.5 years, 2 years old. And she was potty training. So she had a little Dora the Explorer potty, and I wouldn't let her go in the real toilet. I'd only let her go on the Dora the Explorer potty. And you know what I would do? You go pee-pee on the Dora the Explorer potty. I dump the pee-pee into a Tupperware. I put it in the freezer. And whenever ACS shows up at my house, I defrost my daughter's pee-pee and I test clean. So I got away with drinking for another 2 years because I am a very smart, manipulative alcoholic. And one day my husband and I got into a fight. 7:30 in the morning. My daughter has special needs. We constantly argued about it. And you know what I did? I lost the ability to advocate for my daughter. Because you know what? I was right. But it didn't make a difference. I didn't have 2 legs to stand on. And we fought. And he said, "You're drunk. You're nothing but a drunk." And I called the counselors and I called the school, and somebody could tell that my voice was slurring. Called ACS and they showed up, and I ran out of pee. The freezer was empty, and I got court ordered out of my house. And I went to 2 different rehabs. I did some couch surfing. It was in July of 2017 that I got into a halfway house on Staten Island called Amethyst House, a home for women. And I knew there that I was safe, but I was still too smart for the place, you know. I lasted about 30 days, and I had a toothache, so I took a whole lot of Ambisol. Do you guys know that Ambisol is loaded with alcohol? I took so much Ambisol that I burned the inside of my face and blew positive, and which gave me the perfect excuse to start drinking on the corner, and they kicked me out. And now I didn't know what to do, because I'm not allowed in my house. Can't go back to the halfway house. By this point, I have no friends. And I begged that house to let me back in. And I knew, that was when I knew that I had to get sober. I had to get sober. Also, I didn't want to live like that. You know what I mean? Like I did not have wealth by any means, but I grew up not having to worry about a meal. I was such a failure. You know, I was a failure to my father. My father's a very wealthy man. And my father's a very wealthy man because he lived frugally. And I wasn't supposed to turn out this way. You know, and that's really like probably one of the things that kept me drinking or kept me eating, because I just couldn't stand myself. And I couldn't accept what I was, and yet I couldn't bring myself to do better. I was constitutionally incapable of being honest. I just couldn't be honest. I'm a liar through and through. And you know, I'm a liar, I'm a cheat, and I'm a thief, but I'm not gonna go out and rob a bank. I'm not gonna go into your bag and steal your money. I'm not gonna empty the closets in the hallway. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna steal your sympathy. You're gonna feel sorry for me. I'm gonna turn on the waterworks. I'm actually really doing it. And you're gonna feel sorry for me, and I'm gonna manipulate you into giving me what I want. And I'm gonna believe every word that I'm saying. There's 3 types of dishonesty. You might have passed this one along. There's the lie of commission, which is the lie that we tell. There's the lie of omission, which is the lie that we don't tell. And then there's the lie of delusion, which is the lie that we believe. And I'm a master at all 3. I could win an Academy Award. I really am the actor trying to run the show. And I want to manage everything. And when I can't, I feel like somebody has wronged me. So I get into this halfway house, and we're so broke. The house was in foreclosure through no fault of my own, because, you know, I'm not on drugs. I didn't spend the paycheck. I was just the mom, you know, and he lost his job when we bought this house, and I didn't do anything wrong. But what I did do is I perpetuated and cultivated a bad situation. Whereas if I wasn't a fall down drunk, maybe I couldn't get appointed as a teacher. Times were really hard back then. But you know what I could have done? I could have gone to work for McDonald's, but no, not me. I could have done anything, you know. Instead, what I did is I dragged on our debt, and I blamed that guy who was not suitable for me. We just do not mix. But I blame that guy for not supporting me. When the truth is, in this day and age, I was the one with the degrees. I probably could have been making more money than him. But I let him go to an Amazon warehouse every day. And in the beginning, I was the one that went to work. and did the laundry, and did the cooking, and did the cleaning. He's not cut out to be any kind of homemaker, that's for sure. But in the end, he was the one going out there to work and coming home to find his wife drunk, his kids dirty, and no food on the table. What happened to me? What became of me? I was the mom, the consummate hostess. I was the one that was wrapping the party favors. I was the one that had all the get-togethers, and then here I am in a halfway house. And that halfway house let me back in. And while I was there, my husband took my children and moved across the country to Arizona. And I want to make it absolutely clear, I did not lose my children. I gave them away. I didn't lose custody of my children. I let him take them because I was just too broken, too tired, too selfish, or just too exhausted to fight. I didn't know what to do, and he expected his wife to follow him. And it wasn't until I was immersed in that halfway house, I was going to meetings, that I realized that I could never go back to living with him, that I never really loved him. I care about him very much, but I was unhappy in that relationship, and instead all I did was blame him and drink. And when push came to shove, my father called me a witch, said, "When are you going?" And I just couldn't wrap my head around it. All I knew was that if I didn't stay in that halfway house, I was going to die. So I stayed here on Staten Island. They left. I died a little bit, but I stayed in that halfway house. And what does Andrea do? What do most women do? When you start getting sober, and you go into meetings, you're finally getting around new people, kids are gone. Fell in love. Isn't that what everybody does? No relationship in the first year, right? Get a sponsor, right? Get a home group, right? No big decisions. No. 4 months sober, there I am, living in a halfway house. My family is across the country. I decide I'm getting divorced, and I fall madly in love with a guy I met in AA. But I did absolutely no work. And I had absolutely no concept of what God was, what God is doing for me. And there I am, out of sight, out of mind, not thinking about those poor children that are now living in Arizona with a dad that loves them, but can't even fry an egg, can't do the laundry, certainly can't pack their book bags or make their snacks. And what I did to those kids. They lost their mother, and they were essentially abandoned. It's not what I wanted. I didn't want them to go, but I lost the ability to advocate for them. And I definitely couldn't pick up and go to Arizona the way I was. So I met the man of my dreams. It was beautiful. The love of my life. It was everything my husband wasn't. He showed me joy, absolute joy. God, we had fun. Let's drive to Brooklyn and get that cannoli, let's bring stuff back for the girls. Move back into that house. My husband said, move back into that house for me. If you're not coming here and our marriage is over, could you just move back into the house and clean it up so that maybe we could sell it, so I don't have this mountain of debt for the rest of my life. And that guy said, move back into that house. I'll help you. And he did. And there I am, moving back into this house that I was terrified of, this horrific house. It was falling apart. It was a constant reminder of every failure I ever had. And my boyfriend said, all you have to do is pay the utilities, and you could stay here until you get on your feet, until you get back into the workforce. And we painted, and we spackled, and we fixed the leaks, and he replaced the light fixtures. And I realized that we were like creating this home, all the stuff that I had always wanted, you know. But this time I had a guy that could actually change a light bulb. And we did a lot of changing of light bulbs and replacing electrical outlets. And I truly believed that we were setting up our life together. And about a month after I moved back in, we had painted all day long and we cooked dinner together. And we'd gone to the supermarket and we were laying in bed and I said, I love you. And he said, thank you. And it was at that moment that the fear hit. All of that fear coming right back at me from my entire life, the fat fear, the nobody will love me fear. My father can never tell me he loves me, and here I am, this man can't tell me he loves me. And the kids are gone, and the guy's gonna leave, and I don't have the job, and poor me. And I'm a victim. One of my greatest defects of character is self-victimization. So he said, thank you, and that fear hit, and I was drinking again within 4 months, and I was off to the races. And why did that happen? I went to meetings every day. A meeting a day keeps the detox away, right? Not for me. I'm the type of person that'll go to a meeting a day, there'll be a bottle in my bag, I'm drinking in the bathroom or I'm drinking as soon as I get out. A meeting a day is great. Amethyst House, the halfway house, was great. It might help get me sober, but it sure as hell didn't keep me sober. So I went on after that. I had a year of sobriety, and I lost it. And for another year, I could not get more than a week or two together at a time. I just couldn't do it. All I could say was, if that man would just love me the way I need him to love me, then everything is gonna be okay, and I can be sober, and we will live happily ever after. So that was what Andrea did. I went from macaroni to Merlot, to pills, to Merlot, to a man. It's food, it's pills, it's alcohol, it's a man, it's everything. Those things were my solution. Those were what I needed to take me away from who I was. And it wasn't until that man left. One day he couldn't take the drinking anymore, and he went on a business trip to Florida, and he just never came back. He didn't even come back for his clothes. We lived together for almost 2 years. And to this day, I do that obsession prayer. And I ask God to remove the obsession of alcohol. And I ask God to remove the obsession of overeating. And then I ask God to remove the obsession of that man's name, because when I want to fall back into anything, it's going to be one of those three things. It's going to be food, it's going to be booze, or it's going to be the man. Most likely it's going to be that man, because I haven't met another man since. And I'm okay with that. I am so much better on my own than I ever was laying next to a man that I don't love, or a man that doesn't love me. That I will say. So the man was gone. So I drank some more. I got in a job as a teacher in a charter school. I got sober, I got a sponsor, I started reading, but I wasn't following all of her suggestions. I Wasn't saying the prayers. Certainly wasn't trying to meditate. I certainly wasn't calling other women. I was going to that same meeting that I always went to every day. And when I lost that job, it was their fault. They were horrible. But I lost that job because I spent the better part of that year drinking. And now we were in a pandemic. And why couldn't I get this right? Why couldn't I get this right? Almost 3 years of coming to AA meetings that I just can't get this right. What is wrong with me? Right? What's wrong with me? Why can't I get this? And there I am in that godforsaken house, like a mausoleum with no pictures on the walls. The floors are ripped up, still unfit for humans to live in, and I'm just rattling around. And by July 12th of 2020, I was in that house all alone with 2 black eyes and 2 broken bones and a fat lip and a bump on my head out to here. No man, no kids, no job, no friends. Absolutely no will to live. And that, I pray that was my bottom. My bank account wasn't completely empty. It really wasn't. But something happened in that horrible house that was just it was the dilapidated shack that reminded me of everything in my life that ever went wrong. And I knew that I was going to die in that house, and that was going to be the last thing I gave my kids, was that they were finally going to get the call that somebody found Mom in that house because somebody came about the smell. Because I had nobody. I had absolutely nobody. And on July 13th, I picked up that phone. And I don't know how it was that God came to me. All I know is I called this beautiful woman. And I said, please help me. I'm going to die. Please help me. I can't let this be the one thing that they know about their mother. And she said, okay. And she had me get on Zoom. Like, Zoom? Oh my God, I'm a meeting maker. And she said, meetings aren't the most important thing. She said, meetings are important, but you need to go through these steps. You need to get honest. You need to be fearless. And you need to do everything I tell you. And when I tell you, my sponsor is a god-awful, horrible woman. Horrible, mean woman. And I called her crying every single day. And oftentimes she would just hang up on me. She's like, you're not that important. Click. And I would say, look at what he did to me. What he did to me. He's not even thinking about you. Where's God? How could they fire me? How could they fire me? Don't they know I was the model pandemic employee? She's like, you're not that special. You're not unique. You think you're the first woman to lose a job? You think you're the first woman to lose her kids? Do you think you're the first woman to get dumped? No. You want to know the difference between you and other women? Is that you are not willing to accept God's plan. And if you could just get your head out of your own ass and see what God's plan is and be the best Andrea you can be in the circumstances that God is giving you, your life will get better. And God, I hated her. God, she was awful. And I kept calling her, and I kept calling her. And I went on the meetings that she told me to go on. I went on Zoom. I went on Conscious Contact. And I got up there and I cried. And the people in my home group, they held me hostage. Oh, we're picking you up. Oh, we're putting you to work. You're going to be the secretary. I got 3 months sober. You can be the secretary. You can write stuff down. Where else are you going to go? It's a pandemic. You can't go anywhere. All you got to do is write the stuff down, okay? And a person that I knew from that meeting that I used to go to every morning, he heard me crying on my home group, and he picked up the phone and he called me up and he said, I want you to come on this meeting tonight. It's not a real AA meeting. I call it a crisis support group for alcoholics. We call it a check-in. And every night at 10 o'clock, we get on this Zoom meeting and we just check in with each other about our day. And, some of us can't get unemployment. Some of us don't know where to go. Some of us miss our family. Some of us are, And I went on this meeting, and I hated it because I had to have my camera off. I wouldn't let anybody see me. I looked like a clown. I was black and blue, my whole face. I didn't want anybody to see me. So I get off the meeting, I'm like, oh, thank God. I was shaking and sweating. Those first 2 weeks, head pounding. I just sat there in my bed, sweating into the sheets, unable, that feeling. I'll never forget that feeling. And I felt that way so many times over years, and yet I kept picking up that drink. I'm the jaywalker, through and through the jaywalker. It always ends in me unable to control my bowels, unable to control my sweating, unable to keep myself from shaking, with a head pounding to the point where the only thing that's going to work is a drink. And that's the way it was every single time until that last time. And I did everything that woman told me to do. And then when that guy told me to get online, at 10 o'clock at night, he called me the next day. He said, get online again. And then he called me the next day. And then I said, this guy's going to annoy the crap out of me, so I might as well just get online. So every night at 10 o'clock at night, I started meeting with these people. It wasn't a meeting. I wasn't going through the steps. I was going through the steps with my sponsor during the day. She taught me about prayer. Don't pray for myself. Pray for the strength and direction to face my problems as he would have me. Right? That it's going to come down to God is everything or God is nothing. You're crushed by a self-imposed crisis. I have a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of my spiritual condition. I got all these things during the day, going through it with my sponsor, right down to my inventory, all through. I got all of that. I got the unity. I got the service through my home group. I did whatever they told me to do. But the fellowship part, I never quite, fit in until that guy just made me go online at 10 o'clock at night. And I started becoming like they were like family, what else were we gonna do? We just hung out together every night before we went to bed. And one of those guys asked me if we could use my house to have a surprise party for this really beautiful older man that was going to be sober 10,000 days, and there was nowhere to go. We couldn't even go to a meeting. And I said, well, okay, but the house is falling apart. And they came in and they fixed the leaks, and the fellowship fixed the broken stairs, and they pulled the weeds in the yard. And there I was hobbling with my boot on with the broken leg, and they painted the shed, and they started showing up with tables and chairs and ice that I can bake. And they said, we'll give you the money, and everybody chipped in money. And in October of 2020, I looked out into my living room in the middle of a pandemic, and there were 60 people celebrating this man. And my house, for the first time, was filled with laughter again, and love, and everything that I always wanted but never quite had was there. I was finally a part of. I finally belonged. And the pandemic played a very big part in my recovery, because I don't know how the miracle happened, but when you put it all together, what an unbelievable miracle. As long as I was finally willing to see it, and I saw those people in my house, this group of drunks in my house. And it wasn't just that party, and then it turned into Halloween and Thanksgiving and Sunday dinners, and my kids came home for the first time, and boy, my daughter, my one daughter, Sophia, she was not happy with me, and there's a lot of anger there. And they certainly weren't happy meeting my new family, and Dad was like, be as nice to them as you can, considering, that Mom chose AA over us. And in a way I did, but I also know that AA saved my life. Not just the fellowship, not just going through the steps. God put all of this in my life at the same time, and it was the perfect storm for a miracle, and I never thought I would teach again. I mean, I drove drunk with 4 kids in the car. I had ACS on me. And about 90 days into sobriety, I passed a background check with the Department of Education. Thanks to the pandemic, they needed teachers. And it took me 2 years, but I got appointed. And I'm terrified of being a teacher. I'm telling you, these 5-year-olds are scary than any criminal I've ever met. I teach kindergarten, special ed, and the projects. It's terrifying. I gotta be honest with you, every day I wonder if I can do this. And every day I know that God put me there as a reminder for where I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that I have the privilege. I have a privilege of going to a job every day. I have the privilege of being allowed in the same room with children after what I did. I have a relationship with my children. I just Venmo'd her $50 so she can go to homecoming, and I'm sorry, but that's what I was doing while you were reading the steps, because I finally have a relationship with my 16-year-old daughter that says, Mom, could you please send me money? I want to go to homecoming. I don't have the money. I never thought I would be able to do that. So what is my wildest dreams coming true is that my life doesn't look the way I want. I'm still going to bed alone, all right? I'm still in that house. And the bank offered me a mortgage on that house. That house has given me fellowship, family, not only when my children come home, but I am never alone. People just walk into my house. This fellowship just walks in whenever they want to. My friend Brian just came in this morning while I was at the gym to fix the doorknob, Who's got that? I'm so blessed, And my 16-year-old came home for 5 days in October, and she didn't try to kill me in my sleep. She would gut me and sell my organs if she thought she could buy a car. And we had a good visit. And my ex-husband and I actually communicate. We have our ups and downs, but we communicate. And 3 years ago, November 1st, it'll be 3 years on Friday, once I had a little over a year of sobriety, I made a commitment to take the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and put a little more emphasis on the body part of mind, body, and spirit. By the time we came out of the pandemic, I was sober. I had all 3 sides of the triangle. I was happier. But I also put on 40 pounds because I fed all of Staten Island. I'm telling you, I must have fed thousands of people. I don't even know how many meatballs and chicken cutlets I made, how many cheesecakes. I probably had at least 20 people in my house, at least 2 nights a week for the year and a half that we were in the pandemic, and I was never happier. Even with my kids far away, for the first time I had family. But you know what happens when you get that feeling and you're cooking for everybody, you're eating, and I put on more weight. And by the time we came out of the pandemic in 2021, I was back up to 240 pounds. And I took those steps, and I started saying that obsession prayer, and I started asking for God to remove the obsession of cannoli. And I gave up soda, and I started drinking water. And 3 years ago this Friday, I joined a boot camp. And I decided that I was going to do it. I was going to lose the weight, and I'm going to be hot for 50. I'm going to be hot for 50. And this is my mind. I was a year sober, still alcoholic, thinking, I want to be hot for 50, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show him. I'm going to show him. I'm going to show the guy. Who? The guy was gone. What guy? My husband liked me fat. What guy? What guy? Who was I going to show? Probably my dad. You know, because my dad always was ashamed of my weight. And the funny thing is that he doesn't have to be ashamed of my weight anymore, because I gave him so many more things to be ashamed of, you know, than the fact that I was fat. But I was going to show him. And then I was going to show them. I was going to show everybody that made fun of me for being fat. And I finally found a home, because work got to be so scary and terrifying that I was afraid I couldn't go to the gym after work. I was too tired, and I needed to find a place, and I joined a CrossFit gym. You know, the fat girl joined a CrossFit gym, and they gave me everything that AA gave me for my body and for my spirit, just like AA. I got fellowship, and I really decided that screw them. I'm going to show me. I showed me. And just like sponsorship, and I had these coaches that supported me and showed me, because like, not for nothing, when you start doing CrossFit at 49 years old, you could really hurt yourself. And they helped me. And the people there were so supportive, and I started getting in with the food stuff, and I asked them for help, and now I'm meal prepping, and I've lost 168 pounds, but only in the past 3 years have I done it the right way. No Ozempic for me. They didn't have Ozempic 3 years ago. I took the steps, I took God, I prayed, and I threw myself into exercise, and just like in AA, I surrounded myself with people that are living a program of recovery. And I'm always going to be the fat girl. On the inside, I'm always going to think of myself as a fat girl. But I was just telling my friend, I went to the doctor because I'm having some back stuff, and the doctor said that the exercise is actually good for the back. And I said, you know, I don't know, the weight's coming off really slow. I'm not sure if I can lose that much more weight. I don't know, I'm not like that fat anymore. And the doctor said to me, Andrea, I've known you since before you had the gastric bypass at 320 pounds. And he said, according to all of this, you're perfect. He said, your weight is perfect. And I don't know what to do. Like, who the hell am I if I'm not the fat chick or the drunk, you know? And I'm a work in progress, is what I am. I'm one of God's children, is what I am. And I have an unbelievably blessed life, even though I don't remember. So I have to pray, I have to meditate, I have to take my inventory, I have to call another alcoholic, I have to do service. I need all of it. I can't take what I want and leave the rest. I need all of it. I needed to come here today. I needed this. And I'm incredibly grateful. So thank you for letting me share it.
Let's thank Andrea one more time. Just want to say, don't forget the meeting. After the meeting, hang out with us. Our speakers come here at their own time and expense. Take a little time out of your day just to walk up and thank them personally. It means so much to them. And if you're struggling with anything, come see some of us. We do have a Zoom meeting, nightly inventory, 9 p.m. If you'd like to do some work on some steps, we can do it really light, real slow, or we can crush you into it and get you free, and you can go help other people. If that sounds appealing, see us after the meeting. With that, we got a nice way of closing. If you feel like joining us, we'll circle up, we'll hold some hands. It's like the Titanic, women and children first. There. All right, there we go. Amazing job. Good stuff. Let's take a moment of silence for the still sick and suffering. And if you care to join us, we will end with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Keep coming back. It works if you work it, so work it, you're worth it.